Welcome everyone, Sir Heroscape here today, coming at you with a quick summary of the Meet the Heroscape team that just happened this past weekend. I did the live stream, shared some thoughts, did live reactions. That was about an hour and a half, stream. Many of you don't have time for that, so just gonna jump right in, talk about some of the things that they mentioned, share some more of my thoughts in terms of how I feel about what they said, and then would love to hear some of your own comments and thoughts and feelings going forward. So let's jump right into it. So they did confirm there's going to be a low-cost entry point for Age of Annihilation for when they kind of present what the product will be. So it sounds like there's going to be they confirmed there's going to be a master set. So 100% there's going to be a master set. Now that's probably going to consist of essentially the Vanguard edition of what they provided last time. It's possible they, made some adjustments. I guarantee they did some adjustments. But the master set sounds like it's going to be kind of the all-inclusive option, right? So it might still be, 150, 200, 250, whatever that ends up being, but kind of an all-in-one package for people who can purchase that. The low-cost option, on the other hand, while they didn't confirm a price point, my guess would be is anywhere between 75 and $100. That tends to be a general price point for a miniature, role-playing game where you can kind of get into the game, get enough to play, kind of get your palate wet, so to speak, get a taste for the game, and then buy more, right? So I imagine they'll probably take, like 2 factions out of the, I think, 5 or 6 that we have, maybe some of the terrain, kind of pare it down a little bit, make sure there's a campaign or 2 for each, and then, present that as a starter set. And so that's kind of how they've presented it, is you've got the master set and a starter set. Again, contents, we have no idea, but they did confirm they're going to have a low-cost option. Awesome. They confirmed 3 new terrain sets. Now, technically, I think we know 2, right? We know the Walls of Lauer, which are those walls that are basically just walls that are modular that you can kind of make taller and make big walls out of, but they're not like the castle walls where you can sit on top of them, right? And then the jungle set, right? So we know that those 2 existed during Age of Annihilation. I don't know that they would create 2 additional or 3 additional ones outside of those. I think they would just use those as 2 of the terrain packs, and then add in a 3rd. So 100%, the designers confirmed there's 3 terrain packs that they're currently working on and will likely announce come next year. So I think that's exciting. Terrain is honestly one of the main things that makes Heroscape stand out from all other games, especially. It's something that a lot of other games use. BattleTech, for example, it just makes so much sense to just print buttloads of terrain for Heroscape and let the BattleTech people eat that stuff up. When you go to Gen Con, you'll see tons of Heroscape maps that are being played on by BattleTech people because they use a hex-based game, and otherwise they just use flat mats essentially. So really, really big opportunity there. Really awesome that they're working on terrain packs. For those of you interested in painting, they did not confirm whether or not there would be painted options or non-painted options. I think we can guarantee there will be some form of non-painted options. I think that goes without saying. So it's really more a question of if there will be painted options. The only thing they could confirm is that they are considering both options, which I think is awesome. Because very early on with Avalon Hill, they were just like, nope, absolutely not. We're not doing this at all. Like, it was not even negotiable. It wasn't even on the table. But there was enough kickback from the community that this time around, I think it's pretty awesome that they're listening and at the very least considering what an option for painted miniatures would look like. I think a lot of other miniature games have gotten away with good paint jobs or, manageable paint jobs. There's other games like HeroClix, Pathfinder, D&D still does painted. Now, obviously, their model is a little bit different, right, in the way that they do their booster packs, right? But they find a way to get those miniatures painted. So I think it's definitely an option, but I do think it will cause an increase in price. So I think there would probably be some sort of premium painted set, right, where it's the same exact set as what's being presented, but, you're paying a premium price. The truth is people would pay for that. I think providing the option is still really, really good because there's plenty of people that want to paint. There's plenty of people that don't want to paint and will pay for people to paint. And there's people that don't want to even bother with it and would just prefer buying something pre-painted. But I think because of the feedback, it's been proven the community would love a painted option. So they've confirmed they are looking and investigating both options. And honestly, I think that's the best we can ask for right now, right? And they know, they're aware that we want something painted. So we'll see how that one goes. Something that I loved is they talked about organized play. They mentioned that organized play will be ready day one, that they will have everything set in place to make that a thing. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if that means just providing prize support to current organized tournaments by members of the community, because right now we have like 10 different active monthly tournament scenes across the globe. On top of that, we've run our own conventions. I imagine that they will support those events run by members of the community, but I'm curious to know if they plan on being the ones to run them in the future. For example, if you're going to run a world tournament or world championship like they mentioned, I wonder if you have some sort of qualifiers or some sort of standard of play that everyone has to align to. For example, maybe during the month of November, there's a certain format that Renegade declares as the championship qualifier format. And so at every game store, wherever you go on this weekend, the game store is going to run an event for Heroscape where maybe you qualify for the championship or something. I don't know how they do that. I mean, I'm not as familiar with how other games, specifically miniature games, run events at local game stores. I believe the way that they do it is they basically come up with a set of, rules, format, whatever, and they go to the game stores and basically say, hey, game store, when you run these events, here's how we want them run. And then the game store basically, provides the product or prize support and manages, essentially tournament directs those events. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I think it would be a mistake for them to try and remove community members from running their own events. And honestly, community members would still do whatever events they want, regardless. So I'm curious to see whether or not it's more of just, hey, we're going to support with prizes at events run by members, or is it going to truly be, hey, game stores are actually going to run official events put on by Renegade to just try and, get even more involvement. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm excited to hear that they feel very confident, and they said during the stream that we should not worry about that at all, that they have a lot of games that they run with thousands of participants in other games that they own and that they manage, and they were very confident with the organized play that they're going to be doing. So I'm excited to see what they have coming down the pipeline for that. A couple other confirmations. We know for a fact they have said they will not reprint the old classic line of Heroscape. They didn't give any indication that was going to change. I don't think it's off the table entirely, simply because business needs shift over time. And if Heroscape blows up and gets back and, becomes a kind of a major, moneymaker for them and really just takes off, then I think you kind of got to give people what they want. And you're going to have a lot of people that are going to look at the game and say, it makes no sense for me not to have any of these units accessible that were the originals from 12 years ago. So while right now they have confirmed they're moving forward and they're only going to work on Age of Annihilation and on, I think it's very possible, and also I think would be a good idea to, in some way, support reprinting. Now, maybe that's not reprinting the exact models and selling them on store shelves, but maybe that's officially sanctioning 3D prints. Maybe it looks like creating new molds for existing characters and literally just printing a new card. Or maybe it's taking those old characters and just providing a new, updated, improved, adjusted card, right? And what's especially concerning for me is that Age of Annihilation, while yes, it is advancing the storyline of Heroscape, there's a ton of holes within the lore of Heroscape that exist in the original classic game. Because of that, you have a lot of units that are missing faction identity. A prime example of this is the Greenscales. Well, to name one. I mean, there's a lot, obviously. But the Greenscales don't have a official lizard folk hero. The card literally states that they can bond with a dragon or lizard folk hero. There is not an official lizard folk hero that exists in our game. And so you ask yourself, well, that's a hole that I think Heroscape coming back should definitely fill. I mean, that's just one, right? And so if they never make a lizard folk hero, I think that's a miss, right? I think the game coming back very clearly had future releases where they would be presenting units that were part of factions that just never got fleshed out. And so I'm a little bit surprised by that announcement, because I think I guess maybe you don't have to reprint units, but if you're going to be designing, Age of Annihilation, you're going to want those units to bond and synergize with the old units to be backwards compatible. And how can you be backwards compatible and use those synergies from the original units for the new units, but then expect a lot of those people that are trying to get into Heroscape have no access to the old units, right? For example, the new dwarf hero, gosh, I can't remember his name, but I mean, he bonds with dwarves. Well, everyone that's, getting Age of Annihilation doesn't have squads of dwarves. So when they sit down to play a game, they're not going to have the advantage of bonding with dwarves. So what do you do in that scenario, right? You got to be able to have something for the new player to access those old units, to have the same synergies and the same enjoyment of the game. I don't know how you do that outside of reprinting, other than sanctioning 3D prints, or maybe instead of reprinting officially, that's literally what you do, is you just make it 3D printed miniatures, or you commission 3D printed, you get the STL files and you officially release those to the community, so that they can print them themselves or something. I'm not really sure, but I think there has to be something done there in order for them to design new characters with old synergies and still make it playable. Historical units are not currently planned. We don't know what that means in terms of long-term goals, but right now, again, they just confirmed that they're focusing on Age of Annihilation. So historical units are, while originally kind of one of the pillars of what made Heroscape awesome, won't be making a return as of yet. So mixed feelings about that. Not exactly sure I agree with their their decision. And I know many of you won't either. But it's confirmed that for now they will not be doing historical units. So take that what you will. I'll still support Heroscape. That's one of the few things that wasn't a deal breaker for me, but is sad a little bit. So hopefully that changes. But something to keep in mind. They did confirm a timeline. So Q1 of 2024, they did confirm that Wave 1, they said there's going to be multiple waves, but Wave 1 will be released. There will be an official product that will be, something that we can pre-order. So start saving now, because Q1 literally could mean as soon as January or as late as March. But they confirmed that is our timeline. Q1, there will be a product for us to buy, which is exciting, and also around tax return season. So that was really smart of them to think about, is a lot of Heroscapers getting excited about the game coming back and getting a tax return. Gonna have a little bit of money to spend on that. So get excited about the timeline. That is important. Okay, and now for more of just my own thoughts. I've taken up enough of your time already, close to 15 minutes, so I'll try to be brief here. The hierarchy was really interesting. You had Scott, who's kind of the head of all products. You had, oh gosh, I can't remember his name now, but he was, the next guy down was kind of the project manager. He manages multiple games, not just Heroscape, and so he just makes sure the job gets done. Then you had Jean, who's the new director over Heroscape, and so she's kind of more on a daily basis managing what's occurring on the team. But below her, it's just two designers. So you've got Jean, and then you've got Lee and Rowan. Now, Rowan is the lead game designer, and then Lee is the associate game designer. Now, Lee is just joined Renegade 2 months ago. I believe that was the role that was posted that they were hiring for. And then Jean has been with Renegade, but she just joined the Heroscape scene, so she's unfamiliar with Heroscape as a game, but she's done other games, obviously. And then Rowan is been with Renegade for a while now, but has played and grew up with Heroscape. Same with Lee. They were both involved casually with Heroscape as casual fans throughout their life, so they're familiar with the game, but are now the lead designers. On that note, that is also what concerns me. It's a different setup than Avalon Hill. I don't know what other involvement members of Renegade have in designs or whatnot, but we know for a fact that there are hundreds of playtesters, mainly from the community, that are involved in and take part in the design process. Again, I don't know exactly what that looks like. That's something they announced, and you can actually go today and actually register. I've registered as a playtester, and they'll provide you access. You have to sign an NDA, and you have to, obviously abide by how they want the playtest done. And so you'll get a peek behind the curtain a little bit, and you'll have, you'll be able to provide good feedback. But at the end of the day, the people making the decisions are two people that aren't super familiar with the community, which is why I'm a little bit concerned. Do I support them? 100%. I want to support them because this is our game, and so we need to and want to support what we're getting back. But also because we need to support people that aren't as familiar with the community as we are. We've been around for 12 years, and so that was something, or 13 now, that was something that I think was incredible about Avalon Hill. Was Craig was brought on, the original designer, and basically told, you pick your design team and you make this thing work. And he pulled in the 10 best people from the community. So, like a couple of the original designers of the game, Sky Knight, dude's been around for years doing like all the OG stuff. And then on top of that, you have, 8-9 other members of the direct community that have been around for the last 13 years designing incredible, customs and really understand what it takes to make a design, work. In the customs community, in the C3V, I'm a member of that, and it's incredible to see the quality that we come up with, but it's only because it takes a massive amount of involvement from original design, the editing team, the playtesting team, the art team. I mean, there's a whole lot going on. Now, we only got to see Rowan and Lee, who, from our understanding, are the design team. That's one really small part of it. So that's why I'm kind of not sure, okay, well, is the playtesting only done by community involvement and, with the designers? Who's actually editing the cards? Is that the designers, or is there another team that we're not aware of doing the editing? And then when it comes to art, Jean, it was mentioned that Jean is more involved on the art side, so that's good. But like, the thought just came to me, like, members of the community are not as directly involved as Avalon Hill was. Now, I don't think we're going to necessarily see the impact of that for a while, because you got to remember that Age of Annihilation was designed and put on by Avalon Hill, the War Council, almost 100%. Almost all the product was ready to ship and print and ship, basically. All the designs were more or less out the door, ready to signed, sealed, delivered. And that's and then it failed when it came to the actual raising of funds. So the fact that it got that far and was that vetted for, I think it was like 80 different units or something, is pretty telling. I mean, it really shows you the quality and the content and the incredible effort put on by that War Council of 10, 12 different people from our community during the Avalon Hill phase. But what that also tells you is that Renegade basically is going to be giving that to us as is, right? I mean, they may have made some adjustments. So the impact of these designers we're not going to see, I think, until after this initial wave of Age of Annihilation. So it might be a year and a half before we really actually see the units that they've designed. And maybe not. We'll see. I have no idea what, who knows. But my thought is that, my initial thought is that I'm a little bit concerned. And I hope those concerns go away quickly. I really do. Because when you have hundreds of playtesters, potentially all from the Heroscape community, giving you feedback on, hey, this is broken. Hey, you got to consider this synergy. Hey, this doesn't work. Hey, this is worded wrong. Hey, this isn't consistent with how Heroscape is done or whatever. That does help those designers. But again, my concern is there's 2 designers. Typically, in the customs community, we have 3 or 4 designers at the very least, if not 5 or 6. In the design department, you have what we call a lead team, where you have 2 or 3 people leading a design, but then you actually have the designers, which are 2 or 3 people in the department that sign off on whether or not the design is consistent with the theme, good miniature, good powers, and then it moves on, right? And we've got 2. We've got an associate, designer, and Rowan, who's the lead designer, and both are not very involved in the community. They are self-proclaimed lurkers on heroscapers.org. And, they're just not as, in the know when it comes to Heroscape, synergies and community stuff. And I don't know. I have my doubts. And I hope that changes. I have faith that changes. Obviously, they're investing a lot. Renegade's investing a lot into this. So they're not just going to pick people that don't know anything about game design and, and the game at all. So I have to trust that. But it's, just my initial feeling is just, that will remain to be seen how that pans out. But, at the very least, we know we're getting Age of Annihilation units from the original offering that Avalon Hill did. It's possible a few things changed along the way, but I think for the most part it's probably going to be the same. So I'm still excited about that. I'm still super stoked about what Renegade's got planned. Designs, no matter which way you do them, are always going to cause ruffle a few feathers here or there. Even at the C3V. I mean, just because we're members of the customs community creating cool customs doesn't mean every design, knocks it out of the park. And it means, a few people get a little ruffled even on the inside, when we design things that people are kind of, iffy about. So you can't please everyone. I think that's what I take away from this is that, I've got my reservations just like other people do. And some of the things I have reservations about are, other people don't care. Anyway, all that to say, I've talked your ear off long enough. I appreciate you giving me a moment to kind of share with you some of the summary details of what the team went through this last weekend, and then share some of my own thoughts on how I feel about it. Overall, I'm excited. Heroscape is back. Q1, we're going to have something to buy, so start saving now. And just get excited and get involved, right? Go out, get to your game stores, set up a tournament, go see your local crew, and just get involved in the game because, man, just a couple months here, we're going to enter a new age of Heroscape. 2024 is going to be a massive year for Heroscape, so excited to see what happens. Anyway, that's it for me, you guys. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you guys next time.